This okay then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So name, live.
Yeah, just kind of how long you've been in the neighborhood.
Okay. My name is Heather McMullen. I live in Inglewood neighborhood, and I've been there about 4.5 years, and been a business owner here on 10th Street a little over a month.
Okay. So what made you decide to open a business in this location?
In this particular location, I have worked in the neighborhood for about 3 years and was really familiar with the East 10th Street business district and was familiar with some of the property owners and knew that I wanted to be somewhere on the Near East Side. I was also familiar with a lot of the programs that were available for some assistance through the East 10th Street Civic Association. So I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on some of the resources and just felt like it was a good time. I knew there was some momentum happening with some of the other businesses that were also opening, so I wasn't going to go it alone. And I was also willing to, maybe take a little more of a risk than some of the folks that were looking for locations for businesses and prefer to go to a Broad Ripple or a Mass Ave.
Okay.
Ready to sort of be part of that beginning stages of the area.
Okay. So where were you working at prior to starting Little Green Boutique? Little Green Bean Boutique?
I've been self-employed as a contractor and had contracted with a couple different nonprofits around the area, doing some event planning, some business recruitment for this very district for a few years, and then prior to that I was in human resources.
Okay. So you said that you wanted to live on the Near East Side?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about the Near East Side that appeals to you?
At the time when I was looking for a place, I wanted an area that was, I'd always lived in the suburbs or in an army base growing up, and not that they don't have connection or history in those areas, but I just kind of wanted something that had a story to it, had been around longer than 15 years and was cookie cutter, had some originality to it. So that's sort of what attracted to me to the area, the type of homes and just the feel of it. But then when I finally chose to move here, it was more about the community and the connection with people too.
Okay. So if you had to describe the community, how would you describe it to someone who's never been in the Near East Side?
Basically, it is a community. It is a group of people who are neighbors in the sense that I know my neighbors, I know their names, I know what they're going through, they know what I'm going through. It's very intentional that we're striving to be a community and kind of here to live with each other versus just living in our own homes and having our own separate lives independent of everyone else and coming and going and never really making connection with people. So I think that's probably just the fact that we want to be here. We want to, we want to be neighbors with each other, and we want to sort of be a part of each other's lives. So I would describe the community as community, not just a place with homes and businesses. People are connected. I can go to several different businesses or restaurants in the area, coffee spots, and run into people I know, sort of like Cheers. Everybody sort of knows your names,
yeah.
and they know each other. So I just didn't have that, growing up in the suburbs and on an army base. You have different sorts of families and your different stages in those areas of housing, but this is a little different.
Okay.
Here. Yeah.
Do you ever get concerned looks from friends or family when you tell them where you live, or do you run into like preconceptions about the area?
Sure, especially when I announced that I was moving here initially, and being a single woman moving to the Near East Side of Indianapolis, and unfortunately, it seems like what most people hear is on the news in the evenings, something of a criminal, criminal elements overshadowing most of. That's what people would hear about it. So yeah, in the beginning it was definitely that, and I had happened to choose to move to the area during the summer of a really a well-known crime that happened, and that definitely was overshadowing and created concern, I think, for some friends and family. So in the beginning, definitely. Now I'm a little more intentional about how I refer to where I live. I always make sure that I mention my specific neighborhood, because I am a part of the Near East Side, but I live in Inglewood neighborhood, which is a part of, Nesco and a part of 20 other neighborhoods, so that we have some individuality and people don't just gloss over it. So yeah, that sort of helps. And I just expect that often that'll be the look or that'll be the response that I get from people, like, oh, Near East Side. I usually try to sort of lead with positive things that are happening in the area, which is definitely easy to do. There's a lot going on that people just don't realize or understand about it, so it kind of helps.
Okay, yeah. So are there any problems that you see? I mean, obviously there are always problems and things that you can fix, but if there's one thing that you could just kind of snap your fingers and take care of overnight,
And fix.
yeah, what would that be?
As a business owner, it would be nice to have a more walkable area, so that as pedestrians are, running to the corner to get groceries or walking in here to pick up, outfits for their kids, that it feels safe. And I don't even really mean crime. I'm thinking more in regards to, the fast traffic and making sure that people feel like they can cross the street. So, helping to create a more walkable community where people feel safe to walk on the street and shop. And I guess that would sort of go hand in hand with increasing the business fronts here along 10th Street, especially in this little node, where people feel like, I can just walk from one side of the street to the other side of the street and pick up all the things I need and then head back home. So
Okay.
I think, creating that safer environment where people feel comfortable and our cars slow down and recognize the fact that we're a retail, element nestled inside of a neighborhood. So sort of figuring out how to make the two go together a little easier. Because it seems like the car is definitely king. I only live a few miles and I drive my car every day, but just creating a safer environment for folks to be walking. I'm sure there are lots of other things too that, but as a business owner,
but
yeah,
it's interesting to see what other people see. Like,
sure.
These are the problems that need to be addressed. So you mentioned, like, you like the Near East Side, your neighborhood, because it's a true sense of community. Why do you think that's so important? And yeah, for you, I guess the flip side of that would be, why isn't it as important for other people?
And maybe I don't really know the answer to that question. I think relationship is important for everybody. I know there are some people that are loners and don't need to have that connection with people, but I grew up in an atmosphere where my dad was in the Army, and we were away from family for most of my childhood. So my parents would invite other people in the same scenario to our homes, and we'd have Sunday dinners after church together, and we sort of created community on our own because we didn't have it as much. So I think that's something that I was just brought up with, that I enjoy that connection, I enjoy that community. So it could be, just something that I enjoy. I'm not really sure, or that I feel that I need. I don't want to live in an area where I don't take time to get to know my neighbors because it's more transient. We move in and out. I lived in an apartment before I came here on the south side, and although I loved it, I enjoyed it, I just didn't know anybody. And, I couldn't name, holler out their names when I was walking into my, home at night. So I think for me at least, it's just about having a relationship and knowing that somebody else out there cares about you, and that, there's care and concern on your part for your neighbors. So, and I don't know, maybe maybe it's because it's something I grew up with that I enjoy having that versus folks that don't experience it. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
why it maybe isn't as important to others, because I do know people that doesn't really, it's not a selling point to them when I talk about the fact that we have dinner with our neighbors, or
Yeah, sometimes we'll mention that to other people, and they're just like, why would you want to do that?
Right, yeah, we don't understand.
Yeah.